Hello there, you're watching and listening to another ScoutCast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
And my name's John T.
Good evening, John T. It's no Granville again.
No, I know. He's absent.
He's on his sabbatical. More on that in a minute. Although, thanks very much for trying to do your best impression of Granville, because your beard is looking more Granville-like by the week.
Well, having a beard, I know. I'm growing very, very strong. I'll be supporting Manchester United.
And moaning about your game week.
Just like everyone else who lives in his part of England, in the south.
Indeed. Poor old Granville. Yeah, well, more on Granville in a minute, but we've basically brought a guest in to try and help us out, John T, and we've turned to none other than Luke, a.k.a. Disable. Hello, Luke, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. Pleased to be here.
Good evening. Thanks for dropping in at the last minute to replace Granville there. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, super sub, a la Zeko.
No AS Roma shirt tonight, Luke?
No, I've got a vintage Man United one though. I can't remember, 70s or 80s, I think. Sure, Granville will be able to help me on that one.
Looks very 80s, that one.
Very Remy Moses, that is. Very Remy Moses indeed, yeah. In honour of Granville. So just to explain, Granville is deciding to take a sabbatical. He had that week off in Spain, drinking on the stag do. I think that went to his head. He had, I think that week off, and then he suffered this game week like everybody else.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in a miserable game week 29. Which didn't get much better tonight, did it, with the Liverpool game? Not much in that for anybody. And so Granville skipped this episode. He'll be back in a couple of weeks, he said. He's promised me that today. So not long, John T, till we'll welcome him back. But until then, we're holding the fort.
Yes, we'll struggle on.
So we'll have the usual stuff. We'll talk about the game week ahead. We've got lots of questions in the community that John T has gathered throughout the day. We're going to look at Luke's season in the FPL, we'll look at your season in Sky, because Luke, you are of course known as a Sky manager who dabbles a bit in FPL, but we'll look at both your teams in a bit of detail. Then we'll go through all aboard, look at the bandwagons, and preview the weekend as usual. And John T and Luke are even going to step in and do heavy hitters and fancy on this. You prepared that, you guys, already?
Yes, yeah, we've done exhaustive research there. We've done that. That's good. Okay. And also, if anyone wants to make comments, ask us questions whilst we're on air, they can via Twitter at FFS Scout or on the YouTube channel. So if you key in Fantasy Football Scout, you can see it on there. So that's if you go on to Fantasy Football Scout website as well, we've got some links all over there. So yeah, plenty of ways to take part.
Glass of red wine in honour of Doozer there.
Nice.
There. Well, I thought, normally I have water, but I thought I'd treat myself. Granville's not about, so,
Well, I've got a mug of tea there.
Oh, they're very comfortable. Got your slippers on, John T, or?
I have, actually.
I thought, what kind of slippers do you wear, John T? Let's get off topic. I imagine moccasins.
No, they're... I'll show you. No, just a kind of...
Okay, very nice.
Yeah,
Are you a slippers man, Luke?
No, unfortunately not.
No, me neither.
Not quite got to that stage yet.
If the community out there, if you wear slippers, please type your. Cause I'm looking for some moccasins out there. I'm sure there are some. Right, let's go on. The game week. Well, what a miserable affair. Unbelievable. What was the average score? 30 points, was it?
Oh, it was pretty bad. It's 30 points so far. We've got a game tonight, so it's obviously going to go up a bit. Hopefully not too much, because most of us haven't really got much more than 30 there. So yeah, it's I'm on 31, so it's a pretty poor score. I think that's bang on average. That's set to dip below, but the more important one, as I look at, is the top 10,000, and that for the first time in ages is just below the overall average, because all these big players like Costa and Rooney, big favourite players that are very poorly owned by the top 10,000 managers, did quite well this week. So yeah, there's a few people there with kind of 40 scores of 40, 50 knocking around that have pushed it up a bit.
You actually have to do, didn't you, really? I mean, to do well, I think that Ryan and Ali got 45 points and he had Giroud as captain. Fair play to him. Called it in the preamble. We called it last week, and we had Simon March here last week. Obviously, the world's number one, and he said at the time the player he was fearing at the moment, because you asked him, John, was Giroud, who a player he got rid of, like so many of. I got rid of him in the double game week for Austin, as did he. I think a lot of people did, but his form is at the moment, goal and assist again, and I still fear him going into that Newcastle game. Got to say.
Yeah, he's looking like the main attraction with Arsenal. My only concern with the Newcastle game with Giroud is, let's see what his minutes are in Monaco. If he plays the full 90 there, Wenger is in the very very nice position where he can rotate, and he can rotate his best players because he's got other great players. He could easily play Welbeck up front against Newcastle. He could even play Sanchez there and still come away with a good victory. So it just depends whether he feels that Giroud can't play 3 games within seven or 8 days. But I don't think he's ever really said that about Giroud before. I think Giroud's pretty he suffered from fatigue last season, but that was because he was pretty much worked to death, and that was by about February.
I mean, I think he'll play at Newcastle. I mean, I think the one thing about the Newcastle game is they look no Colaccini, suspect defence anyway. They're going to. I mean, I think it's not going to take a lot to knock them over. So if Giroud starts and they get a goal or two, and he needs a rest, he could come up. No, I can't see it. I think Giroud's going to play, but I mean, he's a big threat. I mean, I think we've got some questions to the community later on about strikers.
Yes, we'll come to Arsenal. It's a tough one with Arsenal. But yeah, we'll definitely come to that.
Jeffrey Schnapp. I want to talk about Jeffrey Schnapp.
Yes.
Because he's a player we were pimping all week heavily. We were backing him to the hill.
He was in,
and he delivered.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, I was a bit worried. I mean, I saw a lot of comments on Saturday morning going, yeah, it's all very well, but he still plays for Leicester, 4 clean sheets all season, which is the lowest in the league. And then the team sheets come out. Konchesky was dropped, and he played Vardy, and Schnapp was playing left back, which for the first time in about 10 weeks. But he still delivered and got a bonus point as well. You got him in, Luke, didn't you?
I did, and he was my highest scorer with 7.
Yeah, same here. So in a game week like that, it made all the difference. So I was quite proud of that. I don't know if he's going to go on delivering, but I mean, Joe, you weren't tempted?
No. I've got a particular predicament with my defence in that I wanted to get Hazard in for Cazorla, so that's fine. I did that. I'm happy with that. I mean, pretty much scored similar, and that left me with very little in the bank. And I've got Jeff Cameron and Wisdom, so I literally have no room for manoeuvre to get to the likes of Jeffrey Schnapp. So I can't even dare to dream of Jeffrey Schnapp until another week or two down the line.
He is the stuff of dreams. He really
is. He is the stuff of dreams. I mean, I think, he's for that price. I think you've got some really, you've got some good ones, around there in the Stoke and Swansea defence as well. You've got some good cheap ones. I mean, I think you'll get what you pay for. You won't get many clean sheets. You'll get the odd bonus. He might be asked to move forward a bit more by the manager, so you might get an assist. But for his price, yes, you'll get a good deal from him. But he's not Ivanovic or anything. But let's not get carried away. But he's I think if someone's looking for a cheap defender, he's a really.
Which took the fixtures, isn't he? He's got six at home in the next 10. I mean, bearing in mind though, Leicester, I think they've got 3 goals at home in the last time. Pearson's tactics just so negative. We're going to need him playing centre forward to get anything out of him, but you never know. He might end up doing that. He used to, so you never know.
I mean, they showed Leicester. They're a funny one. I mean, I've always said that Leicester they're basically a Championship side that are in the Premier League. I mean, their squad is a Championship. It's a good Championship squad, so they're not gonna be doing drastically well. But they're a team that are going to pull out the odd amazing game, like their Manchester United game, where that was an improbable result earlier in the season. So I mean, they've still got one of those in them, and they'll be fighting as well. They've got spirit to them. Unlike Sunderland at the weekend, Leicester have got spirit. Same with Burnley as well. Burnley can still do a bit of damage to teams, big teams as well. So I think he's a good one for people to get.
Well, I've looked at the fixtures. They've got West Ham at home, Swansea at home, Newcastle at home, Southampton at home, last day of the season, QPR at home. Now, it could all be over by then for both QPR and Leicester. I mean, decent. And like you say, the thing is, with the running, you just never know, do you? Form book goes out the window.
Yeah.
Suddenly teams have got to win games. Even Pearson will have to attack. So,
those teams. I mean, I always think, this is why I've got Charlie Austin still. I mean, he's pretty much on borrowed time, but but I'm quite happy to, because I think having the likes of Danny Ings, Charlie Austin, and a defender from Leicester who's been attacking like Jeffrey, then I think these are good players to have in the run, and you never know. I mean, look at Sunderland last season. Who were the teams they've been in the last 7 or 8? It was Man City, Arsenal.
I think you had someone on the site, didn't you? I can't remember who it is now. Post about points statistically over the years, and the lower teams how much they score more, don't they, towards the end of the season?
It was a community article.
That's really good, yeah.
That was by Patch, and it was called Relegation Battlers and the Run-In. So visitors to the website can have a look at that in our community article section. And yeah, he's had a look in the position. The conclusion that he came to was that yes, they do attack more. Yes, they do tighten up a bit defensively, but not much. But he was really comparing it to the mid-table side. So they're the teams that to play for. Teams that have nothing to play for. So traditionally, that's basically been usually a Steve Bruce side. So Sunderland in the past.
Well, the thing is, this season that's going to be fewer teams, because the top four. The battle for that extends to about 7th and 8th.
It's going to be Swansea, Stoke, that kind of thing. Stoke, a classic example of that. I wonder if Stoke are already there. They don't. Yeah, they're not.
What, already on the golf course, Victor?
I don't think they can go down. Palace are straight. Palace could have enough points already to stay up.
Oh yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah.
All these teams will be fine. I think as we get 3 or 4 games into it, they're the teams that we need to be looking at, because you never know. There was it was West Brom a couple of seasons ago when Lukaku was playing for them, and he ended up scoring, I think, a hat-trick against.
Oh, he got a hat-trick against United.
On the last game of the season. Now West Brom had nothing to play for, and yet they 5-3, or it was one of those ridiculous scores. Yet they eased out all those goals. So you just never know. But they're the ones I'm traditionally a little bit wary of. I'm okay with the relegation scrappers. I'm okay with the people chasing a Champions League, and it's just the ones in the middle I usually avoid a bit at this time of the season.
So we had a question from Fiona about this game. Fiona B asked how you deal with such a miserable game week. What did she do? Her points are terrible, wasn't it? It was
something like.
Yeah, it's nothing from every player. I think 22 maybe or something.
22. Yeah, it's your. Yeah, it's what you fear, really.
Well, you deal with that by going on sabbatical and not coming on the ScoutCast.
Well, yeah.
Basically, you got to grin and bear it, haven't you? Nobody really did very well, so you've got to take consolation with the fact that you're not alone in that.
It can only get better.
This is my, I think, heading to be my worst game week score of the season. It's not my worst rank of the season, game week rank. And that's the important bit. And you look at it's just one of those weeks where you get it where all the top players didn't score. There's a handful of people with Rooney or Costa or Giroud with captain who did well and good on them. Good luck to them. And so it doesn't bother me. The time when it does get, because ultimately what this is about is the addiction of fantasy football. How it affects your mood. Are you in a good mood when you do well, a bad mood? This is for me. My 31 points. It's even if I'd have got 22, it still would have been a kind of nothing. But the week when you've got the problem is when everyone around you and the average as well, the top 10,000 and the average is huge. There's full of players that you do not have.
Yeah, you're only playing against players that are owned, aren't you? At the end of the day, that's what people need to remember. It's like, poker and your hand judging where you are. Sometimes there's a great board out there and you just have to judge your position.
And there's the game week that we always come back to is the game week 8 this season when all those Southampton players did well and Aguero did well. And if you didn't have a lot of them, there were a lot of people that, why would they have Tadic? Why would they have Graziano, Pele? Why would they captain Aguero that week when maybe there was, Costa to captain? So all of these things, it's the managers during that type of game week who get 40 points while everyone's gaining 100. That's the thing to try and deal with. And the way to deal with it is forget about it and go out and have a drink, or go have a meal,
the old way
play with your kids,
is look at Simon March, who is top of the world, 19 points going into the night. I think he got another couple off of Norton. That's his lot, 21 points for the game week, and he's the top player in the world still.
Gas strikes again.
Yeah, I didn't want to say. No.
So within 7 days of appearing on the
screen, he'll be fine. More on that in a bit. We'll catch up with Simon and his lot. Later on in the ScoutCast. Okay, so Granville versus myself. Granville also got 19 points. I got 33, so the gap's wider there. We won't dwell on that in Granville's absence. Luke, how did you do in the game week? So we know that Jonty got 31. How did you get on?
I currently got 36, but that's with Sturridge's assist, so I expect that to drop off.
I reckon that'll go, won't it?
Yeah, should do. I would have thought.
Very ropey indeed, that was.
Yeah. I didn't actually see the goal, but I saw all the comments, so pretty clear.
That'll be enough. I can't see it. Well, we'll see, but that will set a precedence at that one stage, because that really was a bit fortunate. He flicked it onto the defender, who just knocked it into his path, and then it was a bit spawny, the goal itself. It was a very fortunate goal in many circumstances, but good win for Liverpool. Okay, so your season, Luke, I was looking at it in a bit of detail. It's completely split in two, because you started incredibly. Unbelievable run of first 15 game weeks. You got 11 green arrows, and you were 2,687 in the world at game week 15. And since then, the last 14 game weeks, 11 red arrows. So, what went wrong? Did it all go wrong? Did it go wrong on Sky around the same time, or what was the blame for that?
I don't know. I mean, if you actually look, the first 2 or 3 weeks I actually started off pretty terribly. I had to wildcard and I took a hit. I took a hit in game week 2 and wildcarded game week 3 because I was fed up with my team straight away. It nearly always happens to me. I don't know why I don't just plan for those first 3 weeks, to be honest. From that point onwards, like you say, up to 2,000 eventually, roughly around there. And then I think it was game week 16 where I don't know if you remember. I think Zeko was heavily favoured. I put him in. I know that sounds quite a funny statement to make.
I did as well.
Yeah, and he got injured in the warm-up.
Actually, I had him, yeah.
Which knocked me back, and I was very frustrated. And straight after that, I made the mistake of turning to Van Persie with the old blanket. United had some great fixtures, captained him, and from then on, it kind of just spiralled into bad decisions.
But I think you've actually not done that badly over the last few weeks. You've just stayed the same. Game week 12, you were 7,925th. Currently, in game week 29, you're 7,955th. You've dipped 30 places. Now that's not bad. You're still within that. It's still within the top 10,000. And you're another player that in the game week 8. I mean, you could see this is a difference. Never known a game week like it. 117,000th. In the world, game week 7, game week 8, 16,000. You've gone up 100,000 places just like that, and you've done okay, really.
Yeah.
A few hits. I'm not.
12 hits overall. What's been going on there, Luke? Because you've calmed down a bit recently, but.
Well, I think there's always the fact that I know Simon March was mentioning about trying to remain flexible and stuff, and. Yeah, that's great advice, but sometimes I just think you can get unlucky. You can get injuries. Certain things happen where, I don't know, you may have potentially made poor decisions and you have to fix it right there and then, as far as I'm concerned. I don't really like waiting around. I don't like having a player I know is going to score really poorly and having to just suffer it. I prefer just to get it dealt with and be happy with my team. I mean, I suppose because, like you said, I'm more sort of Sky focused. With FPL, I'm more willing to take those risks. Sometimes it works out for me, sometimes not so. I mean, over the course of the season, I think another point to make really is I mentioned it on the site, and we had the stats going. I was nailing my captain for the first sort of 15, 16 weeks. Every single time, the rest of my team was scoring very, very poorly overall. But my captain, I think my percentage on the Gargatron tool was something like 78% by game week 16. Of the highest player in my team, and ever since that point I just stopped hitting the captains. It tailed off, and team carried on returning the twos. Sounds like a big tale of woe at the moment, but like you say, it's not been that bad. It's just after sort of 580th last year.
I was going to say 580 in the world for a manager who kind of focuses on on the Sky stuff, because you came fifth in Sky last year as well as 580 in FBL. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, bumped up to fourth after the guy who had 2 teams, but yeah, fifth. Fifth officially.
That email you sent did the trick, got him out. That's very good.
Yeah. Sorry about
that. It was an incredible season for you last year. So it's a bit of an anticlimax, I guess, FBL terms. But I mean, how's it going in Sky? Is your season there kind of mirrored that? Is it a tale of two stories there, or?
In a way, I'm 202nd at the moment in Sky, so I'm still doing pretty good. I mean, I have finished in the top 100 pretty much every season since it started, from what I can remember. So I'm just outside of that at the moment. I'm confident that I'll get there, but obviously after coming fourth, you're never going to sort of relive that high.
Luke, didn't you post some stats the other day about the number of transfers that are left in the Sky game amongst some of the top players?
Yeah, it's on a hot topic. In the top 1,000 at the moment on Sky, there's 6.2, I think, or 6.3 is the average amount of transfers left. So similar to last year, where I made a massive climb towards the last sort of part of the season. It shows you there. I mean, 6 transfers. I'm sitting on 9 at the moment, so only slightly above that. But there is a lot of ground that can be made if you're sort of floating around that area. A lot of people may have 0 left, and yeah, if you use them wisely, you bring in the right players. Of course, it doesn't guarantee anything having transfers. You still got to make the right moves. But if you do it, and there's quite a lot of injuries to sort of well-owned players, then you can definitely make significant movements.
I think that's the thing. I've been kind of running try and keep 1 transfer per game week available. So I think I've got 6 left. So I'm not doing particularly well. But
it's a real tough one. Sky, because when you get those initial transfers, you think, oh great, and you start moving around, and I moved them around and transferred players out to get extra captains, and they virtually always failed. And I really regretted those things, and I've completely stopped doing that now, and since Christmas I've been really restricting it, maybe a transfer every other week, and it's paying off really. The thing I discovered this year in the Sky game, something I know that you've mentioned before, is the scoring for the defenders is pretty bad at the moment. And see, I've got Paddy McNair as one of my defenders.
Well, get then, Joe. I mean, Paddy McNair, get Jeffrey in. Come on.
I know, I should get a bit of Schnapp in, but he's old Paddy McNair. He's just been because I mean he has played and he has actually got me the odd clean sheet, but most of the time he gets 0. And then I look at the other defenders I've got who are playing, and they're getting -1 or -2. So I'm thinking, what? Paddy's fine for me.
Definitely a big issue in Sky. I mean, the prices of defenders at the beginning of the season really sets the trend. No one wants to spend that much money on them. Everyone tries to find the bargain basement ones, and this year there just really hasn't been any standout options. I mean, aside from Bertrand, who is absolutely nailed it.
He's 5'1", isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's been one of my mistakes this year, really. I've stuck by players like PVA and just left them in there and just hoped they'd get me something, and quite often they've failed. So I think maybe next year, learn lesson, I think, maybe spend a little more on defence, but again, it comes down to the pricing. If you can find those cheap guys you think are going to be
also decent. It comes down to the teams as well. Like previous seasons, you will get, like Southampton have been, I mean, Bertrand's still cheap, but Southampton defenders were even cheaper last season, and they were great value. But you know, the real cheap ones, they're almost valueless, really. A lot of them. I mean, obviously Jeffrey Schnapp's the exception here, but I mean, he's still 5 million. I still think that's pretty pricey for Leicester.
It's a small price to pay for Jeff. I've got Jeffrey, Bertie, and Ivanovic. Ivanovic I've had all year. I've found in Sky that I kind of made a load of transfers about 6 or 7 game weeks ago, and established kind of like a nice template with my team, because I've got Ivanovic, Bertrand, Schnapp. Schnapp's my last transfer I made. Hazard down in Ericsson, Mane, Aguero, Kane, Berahino. I'm quite happy with that. I look at it every week and go, there's not a lot I can do now, and I've got these 6 transfers, which I'm going to probably save for double game weeks. But I'm kind of. Do you find that, Luke? Do you find you get like a settled team and you look at it and go, now I'm actually struggling? I mean, I presume you make transfers just for the captains, do you?
Not so much this year, because I've had to do a lot of shuffling, and I've not really done as much as I did last year. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. Once you get your team settled, sometimes it's better just to get it settled, get it done, and start getting the points raining in rather than just hope that they're going to come. Again, every season's different. Last season I had Joel Ward at the beginning from the very start, and obviously Palace were absolutely god-awful. They were conceding goals left, right and centre. I stuck by him, Pulis came in, and he turned into a great option. So it can go either way. It just depends what the season's like. You know, my biggest mistakes around there was sort of having PVA. He got injured, swapping him out for Robertson, who then looked a great option at the time, very cheap attacking fullback for Hull. They were, you know, quite good last season in terms of clean sheets, and then this season they just fell apart. He got injured, etc. You know, moves like that you know make sense on paper at the time, but really they should have been rectified quickly. Like now, I mean, the reason why I've started to climb recently is I doubled up on West Brom defence, and that's really paid dividends. A bit worried about it moving forward, but at the moment it's okay.
So you got Foster and Dawson.
I've got Dawson and Lescott. I've got Fabianski in goal just because he's so cheap.
Yeah, I've got Fabianski as well.
How are you doing in the Sky game, John? You're doing better than me, aren't you?
Yeah, just outside the top 1,000, 1,270. Got, I mean, Aguero, Kane, Sanchez up front, Hazard, Sigurdsson, Downing, and Fabregas is the one I keep thinking of getting rid of, and then I don't know.
Those passing bonus, isn't he? Like this week again.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of posts at the beginning of the season. This applies to all the fantasy games really about Fabregas, saying, "Oh, you watch him after Christmas, he's gonna slip down, the cysts will dry up," and it's happened. It's incredible. I don't know what it is because I mean he's a professional athlete. Why is he suddenly not producing?
I suppose you could tie it in with Chelsea as well, though. I think their output's generally dented, isn't it? Along with him, their creativity seems to rely quite heavily on him. I think.
Well, I mean, against Southampton, Matic. I mean, this was the most damning aspect of Chelsea's game was that Matic was taken off. You know, and you're looking at Schneiderlin and Wanyama. I mean, and you're looking at and Southampton actually got a better central midfield. Well, during that game. I mean, obviously, it's very debatable whether they have they're either better than Matic, but I mean that was pretty damning. So yeah, it's a worry with Chelsea in across all the games and Fabregas. If I don't know, I'm waiting for the Jeffrey Schlupp of the midfield to emerge.
It's Mane, I'm telling you. Mane's the guy.
I was about to say, Mane is the guy. Mane is definitely the guy.
Because of course Sky is like
bargaining. Sky, absolutely bargaining.
What does he pick up the other points? Because in Sky you get other points for passing and.
He doesn't pick up them, but he gets man of the match. I mean, he's their only source of goals at the moment, isn't he? So virtually, if he scores, he's pretty closely nailed on for a man of the match award.
And that's 5 points, isn't it, in the Sky game?
Yeah. I mean, he is really really cheap. I think he's 5.8 if I remember. I mean, I've got him in all my fantasy teams because I just think they're a good side. They're up there. I know they might not score that many goals, but if they do, he's going to be involved. I think he's a real bargain with the fixtures going.
They've got good fixtures to come as well.
Yeah.
John T, should we look at some questions from the community? Because there's one here on Sunderland, and we haven't touched on the fact that
Sunderland, let's moved out, so just scrolling through the picking apart these things. Yes, now this is from John Terry's dog. So, can a new manager make a difference to Sunderland, just like Pulis did at West Brom? Or are they so bad it's better to just sell their defenders now? And also, cricket is for Kinnear, who goes under various variations of something for Kinnear on the site. He just simply asked Pantilimon or Van Arnholt. I mean, as in, what do we do with them?
Get them out.
So, yeah. So, I mean, do we think that because there's going to be a caretaker manager for the next game, and presumably for it'll probably be the first team coach or something. Maybe Charlie Oatway or whoever's still there. And then there'll be another manager coming in. But do we think, because Pantilimon hasn't really, he hasn't been the root cause of any particular demise. I haven't noticed his performance as being particularly outlandishly bad. So
I think the fixtures are. They've got West Ham away, Newcastle and Palace at home, and then the blank. Newcastle at home. I mean, anything can happen in that game. Both teams limping into that one with injuries and all kinds of problems. That's going to be an interesting game, but you can't. That's so unpredictable. I mean, personally, I think there's better options. I mean, Pantilimon I'd probably keep because you're going to get save points no matter what. And he's always those. PVA, I think his time is up because not only is the clean sheets, I think they're 1 in 6, but he's not even certain of a start. So I think he's got to go, especially with Jeffrey.
But we haven't had really a credible Sunderland attacker. I mean, managers like myself have tried Defoe, and others have. I think you tried that Johnson for a while, and I mean we've had all these come and go really. No, Sunderland have been pretty much devoid of a good attacking outlet. So I mean, it could be that I wouldn't say they're going to turn the corner. The display against Villa. I mean, there was a good. I don't know if either you read the Daily Mash at all or see it, but there was a good. They do different versions of news stories, and they were talking about Sunderland wowing their fans with a display of no-touch football, with Sunderland taking tiki-taka one touch to its logical conclusion.
What has the new manager got to play with? I mean, this is it. I think the problem they've got is they've got Defoe, who started well, who got the odd goal to begin with, and it looked all bright and rosy. And then they've suddenly realised that Defoe can't play up on his own, really, effectively. Then they got Fletcher and Wickham, but he doesn't want to play 4-4-2, so he's played Fletcher out on the left wing, he's played Wickham out on the right and left wing.
You've got to question how he suddenly comes to that realisation when all throughout his career pretty much everyone's known there's no way he can play up front on his own. How's it take? Yeah, Defoe. I mean, everyone knows he can't play up front on his own. Spurs, when they tried it, it never worked, and I don't know why he thought that would work. I mean, and when your backups are, Connor Wickham and Fletcher, who appears one every sort of 15 games, it's not really going to work, is it?
He's never fit, is he? He's always injured. And so the new manager's going to surely have to come in and play 4-4-2 because he can't play Defoe on his own.
And
but I still don't see enough there, really.
They've got all right, very high-end Championship, low-end Premier League players. They have players of quality like Seb Larsson.
But so unsexy though, isn't he? For Swedish man, very unsexy.
This guy's going to be in the Champions League or sign for Real Madrid. But I say for that level, for Sunderland, Seb Larsson is quite good. But the problem that they've got is that I think it's just too late now. They just don't have the personnel.
The defenders aren't good enough. Bottom line is what I think.
I was going to say, John O'Shea, the most unfashionable fantasy pick ever. He's got to be up there, isn't he? Like whenever Sunderland look like keeping clean sheets, even when there's no secure option other than O'Shea, I still look at it and go, we can't recommend O'Shea.
I'm pretty sure John O'Shea played left wing for United a few times. Pretty well as well.
You look at the types of managers that have come in from teams that are seemingly dying on their feet, like Pulis coming in at West Brom, and West Brom have the players for Pulis. They have fast flair players up front. They have really solid defenders. I was about to call Jolene Lescott really good, but it's just gone really solid defenders that fit into his mind. And they got loads of really kind of very solid central midfielders, which fits Pulis's way. And you look at Villa with Sherwood, actually perfect fit, because Villa for the last 2 seasons have been playing teenagers. And Sherwood's come in, and he can work. He's proven to work well with younger players. And he's getting the best out of Benteke, as he did with Adebayor.
And Charlie Nzoppia's reborn, one of my favourite fantasy players.
This is they fit with it. But what does Sunderland fit? I mean, they're a bit of they're a championship side. They haven't got the personnel. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we might have some Sunderland viewers and listeners Sunderland fans who know their youth team really well. I don't. There may be some amazing stars that Poirier has been keeping out of the side. I don't get the impression that's the case.
I think Ricky Alvarez at one stage was tipped to be the next hot thing at Inter Milan, wasn't he? I remember watching him once. He looked a pretty good player. I don't know what happened there because it's obviously not worked out for him, is it?
Yeah, no.
Well, we'll see who comes in. I mean, Dig Advocaat's been mooted as. He's obviously got incredible experience and he could turn them around, but I just wonder what raw material he's got to work with. We've got to keep an eye on it, but I don't really put much stock in then having a major turnaround. I just don't think I
wouldn't recommend getting a Sunderland player. I think if you've got Pantilimon, keep. If you've got anyone else, just start looking to ditch.
Talking of firepower, a question on Arsenal, John T. on there.
Yes. Now, Digenzio, I think we pronounce him.
Digenzio.
Yeah. Digenzio, yeah.
Come to me for pronunciations. I'm the master.
So how do, this is the key. How do we pick the right players for Arsenal? With Ramsey, this is his words here. With Ramsey now back in the mix and getting a good haul against West Ham, is there any way to get the Arsenal picks right, or is it just a lottery each week?
How does Wenger pick the right players for Arsenal? He's got so much to play with. It must be like the X Factor judges, where he gets all his cards out on a Friday night and goes, "Well, let's get rid of him." He's just got Walcott in on Saturday, who did okay, looked lively, and reminded me, it's what a player Walcott can be. And he can't get in the side regularly. And then Ramsey comes up, pops up for a goal, and it's like, oh yeah, Ramsey, he can get goals, can't he?
And then he's got Cazorla on the bench. And then he's got Özil, and then Sanchez, and then every time I think, what to do with Sanchez is something that Guna97 picks up on, what to do with Sanchez. So it's all part of that mix. You're looking at these other cheaper Arsenal midfielders, and then you look at Sanchez with this huge price tag, and you think, God, I can have 3-4 million saved here. And then I look at Sanchez's underlying stats. He's still attacking. He's still going for it. He's still getting on target.
I think with Sanchez, I made up my mind early on. Sanchez and Hazard, get them in, keep them. I just feel that they've risen in price. They really are explosive players. Sanchez in particular.
Yeah.
He could go to Newcastle at the weekend and get double figures. No effort.
I would be. I mean, this is the real. This is something I think we'll come to later. Is about what to do with players who are worth a lot, who have good pedigree, but just aren't performing, matching their price tag. Getting rid of them. There's almost no easy match to get rid of them, but for me, Sanchez against Newcastle without Colaccini, that is too big a risk to ditch him for that. I mean, when it comes to because Arsenal are likely to have a blank fixture, would I be right in saying, or
just before the potential double?
They've got 33.
So. The decision is made. That's a big choice you have to make. Do you get rid of Sanchez and then use that money to get a cheaper Arsenal player the next week when they have a double, or whenever they have a double?
The thing is, you'd probably likely say that Sanchez is probably the only one who is pretty much guaranteed to play both of those games in the double.
Yeah, or Özil. For some reason, Özil is. They talk about his fitness levels are really shot up. He seems safe. I mean, you've got Welbeck, Giroud, Cazorla, Ramsey, Rosicky even, Walcott are all coming in and out of the sides. Some are more games than others, but they could all be dropped at any moment. But Sanchez and Özil, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they will be.
I think it's one of those things. If you're struggling for the money, then you can justify it. But I mean, with Kane and I just don't see the need to take the risk personally. I mean, it comes down to that. In another situation, potentially, I could see the logic. But
I think if it was, I think as you say, if there was one Arsenal midfielder who was banging them in every week, say they had like a Gareth Bale when he was at Spurs, who was just overshadowing everyone else, including Sanchez, then of course you have to make that move. But there isn't, because you could get Ramsey in 1 week and he could get you 15 points, and then he could not play the next week. And then so essentially you've got 7 points over those 2 weeks for that player. It's just as Digenzio says, it's a lottery each week.
So you've got a soft spot for Ramsey after last year, John T. You're not tempted? You're talking about it before.
I was tempted. If I was to ditch Sanchez, I think it's something we'll come to about kind of getting differentials in and the right time to move. I think Ramsey, he's looking great. We saw what he did last season. I think you, Mark, was I right to say you went to the FA Cup final when he played, and you were impressed seeing and. Yeah, there's certain players, and he just surges into the box, and he's pretty accurate, and he's popping those goals away. If he's about to start one of those runs, we saw what happened last season with Aaron Ramsey.
It's the old Ramsey and Giroud combo, isn't it? When they're both fitting on the pitch, they complement each other so well.
It's a hairdo thing, I think, for both of them. They both got very similar hairdos. I don't know what it is. They clearly work well together.
Embarrassingly, in
I think for Arsenal's next double game week, I will be looking at Ramsey as a very good differential that week.
The thing is, Ramsey did well because Kafula wasn't on the pitch. I do wonder. I mean, that's not a permanent thing, so I wouldn't jump to any conclusions with Ramsey as yet. Let's see exactly when Kafula's playing and Ramsey's deeper.
And we've got Arteta coming back in about 3 weeks.
Do you think he'll get back into the team?
No, I just think I don't think he's another option.
He was so poor before his injury, wasn't he? I can't see it personally. I think his days are behind him now.
I think what he is though, he's just another option. He's just another name to put in the mix that could give another player a rest, to freshen it up a bit, and that's what you don't want. And then Wilshere as well has got yet another injury, but seems to be recovering for it. So if Wilshere comes back in, it just gets it's just so messy. So I mean, I think
just get Giroud and Sanchez and leave it at that.
If you've got Sanchez, keep him. If you haven't got Giroud, consider getting him.
Bellerin's the other issue, isn't he, in the Arsenal team? I mean, for me personally, coming up to the double game week, it looks that he'll probably get one game, and then you're using that valuable Arsenal slot on a player who only might get one game. It's a bit of a worry.
Yeah.
I think Bellerin's okay. I think Chambers was pretty poor on the weekend. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Bellerin's going to play 4 out of 5 mostly. So, and I think when Chambers may have played to deal with West Ham's threat in the air as well. I don't. Bellerin's definitely first choice. I don't know
how far Debuchy is away. I mean, whether he's three weeks away.
Back in light training today, so.
That's bad news for Bellerin, especially in game week 34.
He was actually quite poor as well, though, wasn't he? Before his injury, he came into a bit of criticism. So
that's why. I mean, I splashed out on a luxury purchase of Koscielny, and I'm happy to keep him. I know he got arrested the other day, but that didn't work out so well, so he was back in again. And
that is luxury goods, Jonty. No doubt about that.
It is luxury, but he got my highest scoring player this week, 7 points. So
let's move on and start looking at all aboard, Jonty.
Yeah.
So transfers in, transfers out. Talking of Arsenal, Giroud's top of it, and we said, didn't we? We said last week he's going to hurt us, and I said in the preamble he's going to hurt us, and he did. 17,000 transfers in so far. It's a slow week for transfers.
I was going to say, look at these transfers in and out are absolutely tiny. This is minuscule stuff, isn't it?
Player there, Costa, and then what's that? Henderson. Now he got his 3rd goal in 3 game weeks.
Yeah, I know. It was a very dubious goal. Did he even know about it? It was, but Henderson is a player. I think I mentioned before. He's really taken to this captaincy.
For the double game week, he looks like a great sort of 5th midfield option.
I think he looks really good. He's a really good different. I mean, we saw in the last game week with the likes of Mason and Townsend, these players that no one was talking about, who ended up getting these huge double game week scores. I think Henderson's more than capable of that. He's really, he is the Gerrard replacement, and he's filling that role admirably. I mean, he's on
differential though. 17% ownership. It's not that much differential.
But that's the overall. I mean, for myself, and I'm looking at the top 10,000. That's the differential. It doesn't matter if he's got 17,000. So there was an article that went up today actually by Matter is the One, which is a very interesting look at ownership in the top 10,000, looking at differentials. Now he didn't actually look at Liverpool for. Oh, he did actually. Yeah. So let's have a look at. The ownership in the top 1,000 of Henderson. So this is where I would like to be in the top 1,000. These are the managers I'm looking at.
The water's lovely.
0.7% of the top 1,000 own Henderson. Henderson is a huge differential, and he will be in the double game. Well, hopefully people won't listen to me and get him in. So. I mean, 0.7%. That's absolutely minuscule. Ramsey, 0%. Doesn't even figure.
Well, it's interesting. I'm further down there as well. Benteke now 0.7%. Villa on fire. Sherwood reviving them. I mean, I know Sunderland were poor, but Villa looked on it, didn't they? And then all of a sudden, there's options everywhere. I mean, that match, you were looking around, it was Bacuna, it was Sinclair, it was Nzobia, then you got Agbon waking up. I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah, well, this is we speak about the Sherwood factor. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's doing what he does. He's nurturing the young players. He's giving a big slap on the back to the centre forwards who rely on confidence. Benteke is a changed man. Yeah, and that's gonna probably carry them to safety, and they'll be a Premier League side.
Not sure I agree with that.
You're not sold on that?
No.
You think? I think that might have been a bit of a flash in the pan. I mean, I know they've definitely improved attackively. I mean, they've scored more goals in that game than most of the majority of the season, haven't they? But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think Sherwood's also got the history of getting spanked 4 or 5 occasionally when he tries that approach against teams he shouldn't. Also, Benteke, I don't think he's ever been the same. And the goals, he took them fairly well, but I don't know. I just got trust issues with that guy. I think there's quite a few other people as well.
What's he done to you, Luke? I mean, like.
I don't know. I mean, at one stage he looked like he was the real deal, wasn't he? When he came in, I think it was January he came in, wasn't it? And he maybe, I think it was about 18 goals or something before the end of the season. And started the next season pretty well against Arsenal, if I remember. Scored against them in the opening game. Tailed off from injury, and he's just never done it since. It's been probably nearly a year, I think, since he's actually been an option. Potentially, he's got the history, so you never know. You can't write anyone off. But yeah, not for me at the moment, I don't think.
So looking at transfers out, John T. Muppet Rampage asked Aguero why keep him aside from the good question, because
it's a really good question.
14,000 have already got rid.
Yeah,
that's still not stuff, though, isn't it? I mean, he's right. Fear is the factor with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got nearly 30%. Well, it's just under 30%. He is at home.
Home to West Brom. So
he's not scoring every week. When they play 2 up front, it's not working, which surprises me. Last week we spoke where Granville had been to see Atletico play. Last time I was at their ground, I saw Aguero with Forlan up front, and they were incredible together. And Forlan scored a couple, Aguero scored, and they assisted each other. And he works really well with another striker. So I have no idea what's happening with them there. It's fear, but then you look at his price tag, it's 13 million. So there's lots of us say, I think I got him at 12.23. That's still a huge sum. I could leave him with profit, but for me, I'm a dull player. Getting rid of Aguero now is too big a risk. But I would consider it at the double game week, because if we're facing a double game week where you've got Costa and Sturridge as having good fixtures and they're playing 2 games, then that could be the time to get rid of Aguero and just say, see you later, Aguero, for the rest of the season. I'll stick with Silva as my Man City cover.
Well, I mean, Luke raised it earlier. I mean, everyone's got Kane, obviously. So you wonder why you need the funds to why. I mean, obviously people are looking at Giroud, I guess, and he's top of the transfers in with Costa. So people are doing Aguero to Costa, Aguero to Giroud. But it kind of like, I mean, you can kind of manufacture the money for Giroud. All right, Costa's a bit of a stretch, but
Costa and Sturridge. That would be, Liverpool and Chelsea got a good double potentially, both of them, and that would be a good one.
The thing is, Aguero had more shots than anybody at the weekend. Yeah. He's still there. He's still getting opportunities, and I don't see it. I mean, Luca, you got him in Sky, obviously, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, I think, similar to the Sanchez situation. He's top quality, proven player. I mean, with Aguero's case, he's got penalties as well, as long as obviously he's not off the pitch and Torre's on. And he's just playing for a team that, although they're not in great form at the moment, can switch it on at any point. They've gone on these little patches where they've suddenly just switched and they've had great form for a few little period of games. He's exactly the kind of player in that double game week, if you did take the risk and get rid of him. I think they've got a pretty good game, haven't they? Home to Villa.
Yeah, West Brom.
Yeah, West Brom.
I was at Villa.
I mean, defensively, West Brom obviously sound, and so people are thinking that maybe Aguero's going to struggle in that one, but I just don't know. You can get a goal out of nothing, can't he? So. Yeah, that depends on the pitch time in Barcelona, how that one goes as well, I guess.
I mean, there's another name, Rooney, to add into the mix of heavy hitting players. But for me, I just looked at the fixtures from Man U, and they didn't warrant investment. But if their fixtures were better, then he's another name that you've got to compare. These strikers, 13 million for a striker that's getting 2 points away to Burnley is. I mean, it's just pathetic, quite frankly, and I can see why.
I think we owe him a bit more time. Personally, I think I think it's. I'm going to give it another couple of weeks, and we'll see, because he's got 2 goals away at Stoke. He's capable. There's no doubt about it. So
I think for most of us, it coincides with the double game week when there will be good quality players who are expensive, who have 2 games. And if you're facing Aguero, or I mean, Costa's got a couple of good games. You know, I mean, I'd if you're looking at that double game week, Aguero 1 game, Costa 2 games, 2 good games.
Yeah, Aguero, home to Villa in that game week though.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's exactly the kind of time where he could, could just ruin you.
We saw against Spurs. I mean, I actually think they're a bit better, Man City, against the better sides. I just think they play up a bit more. I think a lot of these players they're on huge money, and they rack up to Turf Moor. And they probably just think, well, let's just have a bit of a kickabout, and they get beaten.
I think it may be decided for us anyway. With Aguero's track record, I mean, the chances of him surviving the whole way without an injury, especially with these midweek games and stuff, I think it's just a matter of time before he twangs another injury.
Well, that would do us a favour, wouldn't it? Because at the moment he's in conundrum, and the kind of faint-hearted amongst us, me included, are kind of holding firm and hoping he recovers. Yeah. But we'll see. Okay, Scout Leagues, Jonty, let's look at this, because Simon March, who was on last week, as I said, miserable game week. I think he's got 21 points after tonight's game with Norton.
Leeds been cut.
Yeah, Leeds was cut to 20 points before tonight. I mean, that's still fairly comfortable, because I looked at it, and he's got his wild card, and the next manager with his wild card is 38 points behind. So you kind of think that the wild card has got to be worth a certain number of points. And the other thing is Simon's kept his 2 transfers. He didn't make any transfers this week. It's a trend, it's a kind of tactic he's used all season. And presumably he's got a strong week to come.
Yeah, when we spoke last week as well, he wasn't really going to change tactics. He wasn't going to do anything outrageous. He was thinking players to get in. So he mentioned Sigurdsson. I can see him getting Sigurdsson in, or maybe Mane, freeing up a bit of money, and then he's going to be set up really nicely for game week 33, and then game week 34. I think he's going to be really tough to beat. If he just carries on what he's doing, really. The only thing is if he just has a Poirier moment and just goes into meltdown. But he seemed like a pretty sensible guy. I don't think he will.
We'll see. I mean, we're following him closely, and obviously next game week's a big one for him. And I think, Mane and Giroud are players he's going to be looking at, I guess, for that one, and see if he gets it. The thing is that it's getting the captain right, because next week is Aguero versus Kane. It's already close in the captain poll. So it's going to be down to that really at the top. We'll see how that one goes and see where Simon puts his money, because we talked about Aguero. Kane at home to Leicester is perhaps looks a stronger bet, so we'll see. In the members league, Simon's top of that obviously because he's a member, and he's ahead of Jacob Dovetail, who is on 44 points, 1779 to Simon on 1832, and then in the ultimate game, Damien Lillard is top of that, 2122. He's 4th in the world, 36 behind the leader. And over in the Sky game, Luke, in your part of the world, Kevin Anderson is top of the Scout League and top of the world, but only by 2 points. No idea how many transfers Kevin's got. He's coming on a ScoutCast soon, but he's obviously not going to. We're not going to let him tell us how many transfers he's got left. But how's he feeling at this point? Because it's 30 grand up for grabs. 10 game weeks to go, or 9 game weeks to go. Very close, isn't it? 2 points. It's all going to come down to transfers, isn't it, Luke?
Yeah, you would have thought so. It's going to be very, very tense. I mean, it's going to be more than 30 grand, because I know that's what you get from Sky initially, but I'm assuming he's probably in quite a few other mini leagues, cash leagues like I am. I mean, I racked it up, and there's all the different prizes you can get from all different areas, and you stand to win about 50 grand if you win it overall and you've entered all the right leagues. So potentially, he's got that weighing on his shoulders. I don't know.
No pressure, Kevin.
Don't do what I did and last season brought in Aguero for the last sort of 8 games where he got injured, and then Zeko went on a wonder run and trolled everyone. If it would have gone that way, then perhaps I'd have come first. But who could have foreseen that? Hey.
Okay, Mondigal. I've got a good story here, Johnson.
Okay. Yes.
Mondigal partners with West Ham, and at the weekend they were giving away West Ham signed match ball. So I looked at it and thought, well, who do we know in the community who would like to get a West Ham signed match ball? So I put £6. I picked 6 teams, £1 each, and I won. We've won the match ball for Dewsbury, because going into tonight's game, I needed some. I didn't need much from Coutinho, but he got us 10 points, I think, but we were already winning. So the scout team won the match ball contest from Mondigal. And we've got Dewsbury signed West Ham match ball, so I know. So hopefully he'll be pleased with that.
We'll have to get that to him now.
Yeah, I know.
one of his friend Beric, who's a regular in the community, popped by saying that he's still in hospital. Still in a serious condition. This was last week, but his family are hopeful they'll be on the road to recovery soon. So maybe we could sort something out with Beric to get that ball over to him.
Well, I'll get that and what the goal. We'll have regular West Ham competition, so I'm just going to keep pumping into those.
Brilliant.
By the end of the season, we'll get Mark Noble pouring a glass of wine for Dewsbury for him. That'll be the ultimate prize, probably.
Yeah.
But that was a good. I kind of saw it and thought, well, I'm just going to enter some teams and see how I do. Yeah. And I picked Gabby on the Hall in one of the teams.
Wow. Okay.
Good shot.
Okay, that is good. Doozer would be proud of that choice, I think.
Yeah, no, so get well soon, Doozer, and you've got a match ball coming your way as soon as we can get that sorted for you. Weekend preview then, guys. Granville's not here to pick a clean sheet, but I'll ask you guys to have a look. Yeah. What do you reckon then? You're going to go for the obvious like Granville, or you got some left?
I am, but I know Luke's got one that I didn't go for, so I'll go with mine first, and then Luke can chip in with his one. So I've gone for Man City against West Brom. I just don't think you never know what you're going to get with Man City, especially at home. They've lost.
Disappointed normally.
But at this point, I just don't think West Brom are actually that attacking. I think they're pretty good defensively. I just don't think they're that good attacking. I think Man City, they've got to keep it tight there. They've got to win that.
Threat though, haven't they? With the old, you never know.
You never know. I think I've gone for Southampton as well. I think out of all of them, this is
that's a given.
Southampton are fantastic defensively, and they're at home to Burnley, who I've said before are essentially a championship side. They're good, got some sparks there, but I can't see anything for that.
That's about 5 championship sides we've talked about tonight.
We have. Well, there's. Yeah, there are. I mean, that's the quality of the Premier League at the moment. It's really a quite low quality.
So, are you going for Spurs Leicester as the last one then?
Spurs. Yeah, Spurs Leicester. I don't think Leicester once again they're a champion side.
But Leicester did them there in the FA Cup, and
it's possible. Yeah, but then that could work against them, as in Spurs will realise that they won't be a pushover. They won't take it for granted. I've also gone for Chelsea as well, away to Hull. What Chelsea are good at is when they need to keep a clean sheet, they can. Doesn't always happen, but I don't think Hull have got.
They haven't got the weapons, have they?
But I know, Luke, there was another one where you think there's going to be a clean sheet.
Yeah, I think the Chelsea one looks pretty nailed as well, definitely in Southampton. But I think Arsenal are definitely a good shout away to Newcastle. I just think Newcastle haven't got. They've got Cisse out.
They're a championship team, Newcastle, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say it.
They're all championships.
I just think there's no real goal threat there. I mean, they're relying on Gouffran and people like that. I just don't see them scoring, to be honest. Yeah.
I think it's probably just the kind of the romance of football and all that. But Newcastle are one of those sides where I don't think they'll win. I think they'll get beaten. But you never know. Newcastle at home. You never know.
I think they've only scored something like I saw it on Sky. I think was it seven goals in the 9 games that Carver's been in charge, or something along those lines.
Without Colaccini in defence and without Cisse in attack, they are a championship side.
I think they're going to struggle big time there. I think Arsenal will coast it.
Yeah, I think that could.
Heavy hitters, Clee and Fantasy Island Vest. We'll do this anyway, with or without Granville. We are missing him, but we're gonna plough on regardless with the regulars. I'm going to go Giroud with my heavy hitter because I just think Arsenal are going to just knock them over quite easily.
Yeah.
So I think that's an obvious pick. I mean, his form is just irresistible at the moment, and he's incredibly good looking. So what else could you want?
Lovely man.
Yeah. So John T, what have you got there?
Well, I've got for someone who's not incredibly good looking, Diego Costa. He looks about 80 years old.
Can you say that?
But I think he's a good. To say he's a good striker is a bit of an understatement. Of course he is. He's against Hull. He scored last week. He seems to be avoiding the yellow cards somehow. He's got the Lineker Teflon touch.
Only needs two.
But he hasn't got any. I think in now. Let's have a look on YouTube. Who's going to remind me of this? Andy85, one of our regulars. Says hasn't been booked for 12 games. So I know.
How many of those 12 games should he be booked in?
Yeah, not a miracle.
All of them. He should have been sent off in all of them. He's a filthy player, but that's irrelevant. He's got that magic Teflon touch, so referees just can't. They just slide off him.
It's called being a Chelsea player, I think.
Yeah.
So you don't think that Paul McShane's going to have him in his pocket then?
Yeah. He hasn't got pockets deep enough for.
He'll rip his pocket off.
Yeah. Okay. Eat it in front of him.
Luke, who have you got there then?
I'm inclined to go Sanchez. I think the Arsenal game is the one to back, and with his stats about most shots in the box, I just hope that eventually it turns into goals. I think Giroud, one of those two, or it could be anyone, as we've already said in the lottery, but I'll stick by Sanchez. I think hopefully he's in for some points.
Yeah. Okay, fancy on this. Let's get interesting. Let's talk some. So you're not allowed to have Jeffrey Schlupp because he's a given.
No.
Who are you going to go for?
Well, I've gone for two. One I'll leave for Luke because he mentioned him. But the one I really like, Ramsey. I think he's.
Arsenal again.
I think he's back and he's back. If he's playing, I think even if he comes on as a sub, I remember owning Ramsey for a lot last season, and you look at the team sheet and oh God, Ramsey's out. He comes on in 60 minutes and scores 2 goals. He's just that kind of player. He's a great, fantastic differential. He's got 0% ownership in the top 1,000 managers. But there's another player, a striker, but I'll let Luke mention him.
Well, who have you gone for, Luke, then?
It's not a great surprise maybe, but Sacco at home to Sunderland. I mean, chasing Sunderland and Newcastle we seem to be at the moment, which looks like a pretty good bet. I mean, Sacco pretty much nailed on to start with the injuries they've got. I mean, West Ham haven't been in great form, but him himself, I think it was 8 shots in the box in the last 2 games, something along those lines.
You're obsessed with shots in the box, Luke.
He's got 17 attempts in the last 4 games. 17.
No doubt, but I mean, I've got a conundrum with West Ham because at the moment I can't get down in my team because he's going to be my first sub, but I worry about it. It's either I play Charlie Austin home to Everton or Downing home to Sunderland, and it's actually quite close.
It's close.
My team is saying Downing, and I'm wondering whether I should question that because
I think Austin's
not being good at home, is he? So,
Austin for me shades that one.
Austin's got penalties, hasn't he? He just that always tips it for me, but
yeah.
Well, I'm going to go. In that match, Lukaku I quite fancy because I think he's got it in to trouble the QPR defence. Mane, of course, who we've got to talk about because is he a risk? Probably not, but he's at home to Burnley and Southampton if they're going to score.
Considering captaining him this week actually for a punt.
Good option. And then our Arsenal player, everyone's got to mention an Arsenal player whenever possible. So I'll mention Theo Walcott because he got those goals against Newcastle in the past. Loves playing Newcastle, but more to the point, he could play against Ryan Taylor. So it's going to be Ryan Taylor trying to handle Bellerin and Walcott, 2 of the fastest players in the Premier League. That's going to be pretty untidy, I'd have thought. So if I was Wenger, I'd be like, well, keep Walcott on the bench in Barcelona, save him for the Newcastle game, and watch him tear into Ryan Taylor.
If I was Wenger, I'd probably get myself on. I'd sub on Arsene Wenger, just say I can have a go on this.
Poor old Ryan Taylor, he takes a good free kick, but I don't know. I think he's going to struggle there. Yeah. So we're predicting a horror show, aren't we, for Newcastle? But we'll see. We've been wrong in the past, and I'm sure we'll be wrong again. See how it goes. Jonty actually is tipping Newcastle a surprise, aren't you?
Not to win.
Not to win. All right.
To score. I think it'll be.
Keep it 0-0 for 10 minutes. Right.
5-1. I just don't think of the clean sheet. I think, but I think Newcastle could score. But no, I think they will be absolutely humiliated at the other end of the pitch.
Oh, just the humiliation then. Okay. So fair enough. Yeah. Sorry, Newcastle fans. Okay, let's end on questions from the community, John.
Yeah. Rightio. Wild Rover. Should the January wildcard be scrapped?
Yes.
What?
Lots of yeses.
Really?
Lots of yeses.
What? You just had a text about it, Luke, for that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why do you want to scrap it?
I don't mean scrap it. I mean, I think quite a few people have suggested you split it. You have one for the first half, one for the second half. I just think it avoids. As much as we try, it generally ends up in template teams, doesn't it, amongst the active players? And if anything, that just encourages it. we're having only that sort of 4 or 5 week window to do it. I mean, I don't really see the need for it to be there. I know they're trying to sort of run it alongside, real transfers and players coming in, but I think it just makes sense to try and encourage as much variety as possible. So
I think you're absolutely right. I think having it in that window means that obviously people are going to be focused on the people who have good fixtures, any forthcoming double game weeks. We've seen it, haven't we, the last couple of seasons, that it means that going into the last 10 weeks, everyone's got similar kind of players.
The last, I mean, I used it this year, obviously, because you have to. But I could have.
You could have thrown it away, John, too, if you wanted.
I could have. Yeah, I could have. But I could easily have rectified my team over 2 weeks with 2 or 3 hits, and just bit the bullet with some hits. And I'd love to have. I'd love to have had the opportunity to have a wild card coming up. So I do like the idea of a pre-Christmas and a post-Christmas wild card. I think it's not a great time to play the wild card. Now is a great time. No, in game week 33 is a great time to play the wild card. But I can see why they've done it. They want to preserve interest. People coming back to it after Christmas, having a look at the team again. Oh, I've dipped down. Maybe I'd like to rejig it. I can see that. But yeah, I don't mind 2 wild cards, but I'd like to see it a bit more flexible.
No, that's fair enough. I think it's a very good point.
So,
maybe they're listening. Maybe they're listening and they'll change it. So
yes,
I know they're avid listeners. So yeah.
There's some more questions. The Colonel asks, which FPL player this season represents the worst value for money? Van Persie, Falcao, Yaya Toure? And can any of these poor value players turn their season around? I mean,
are we allowed to talk about Yaya in negative terms? Because you'll just hang up, really.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, I don't think. I mean, I think he can turn around his season, but it would take Aguero being injured, and then Yaya Toure becomes worth getting again because
it's got to be Van Persie, hasn't it? I mean,
that's what I'd go for. He's been seasons on end now. He's been poor value, hasn't it?
I'd like to think that. Obviously.
I like to think that this season we might see him at a more reasonable price, but you never know. Assuming he's still at United, of course, you never know. But maybe for the first time you might represent some value. We'll see.
He's gonna be a problem to them in terms of pricing because what they do with Kane versus Van Persie, and because he has got pedigree, but he doesn't. There's something. He seems to lack that.
He's lost
sharpness, he's lost pace.
I think he's just got old and had one too many injuries. It happens to players, doesn't it?
I think if he stays at Man U next season, I think the FPL price wizards will probably factor in how many games is he going to play. Not necessarily how good he'll be, but how many games he'll play. And I think they'll get another striker. They'll have Rooney as the option. Wilson will get, if Van Gaal's still there, Wilson will get the odd game. And I think they'll have to factor all that in. I think Van Persie, realistically, he should be priced at 9 million, no more next season. I think anything more than that, I wouldn't even recommend getting.
I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to it because next season I'm already looking at players and going, well, he's going to do one for next season. We're looking at Coutinho, I'm looking at Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I'll look at Henderson next season.
Henderson.
He's on penalties. When Gerrard's gone, so, Henderson's number one penalty taker.
There's 3 or 4 players that already you think, because I think it's going to be interesting pricing those guys because I don't think they're going to do quite enough this season to mean they're going to be like 8-9 million. Coutinho maybe 8 million. So I think we're going to have a lot of players around that 7.5 price bracket who could have the potential to push on. Whereas this year we haven't seen it because we've had Morales, who hasn't really done it, and he's been, he's one of those players that always threatened to kind of just nudge his way up to the price brackets, up to 9.5. Didn't do it. Walcott has let us down this year, so he's going to drop in price. That's going to be an interesting one. I think they're going to have about 10 players who they're going to have to sit there and look and go, how do we price these guys and make sure we don't make. It's not a mistake, is it? But they can underprice a few, I think, quite easily.
There's teams in general, isn't they, going to struggle with? I mean, like you said, Arsenal already, that's going to be a nightmare getting all the prices correctly there. I mean, I suspect that most of them are going to be quite expensive. And then the same with United, you want them to have options, but trying to price players at Man United so they represent value is going to be a tough ask unless they sign some players, I think.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Anything else there, John?
Yeah, a couple more questions. I'll read them both together because they're both very similar points here. So Doolittle asks, at what point and possibly what rank do we throw caution to the wind and go completely against the template? And Andy85, WSM, ask, with the template starting to potentially falter, e.g. Aguero, Sanchez, when will you make your differential move? Are you worried about the move first and potentially losing places, or will you be a maverick and get on the next bandwagon early? This is a classic. Who blinks first?
Yeah, this is it, isn't it?
The top 1,000, top 10,000. Who is going to blink first and ditch Sanchez?
I kind of think that I'm going to wake up one Saturday morning. So I almost had one this week. I woke up and thought, right, I'm going to go Mahrez and I'm going to get Giroud in. I'm going to take the 4-point hit.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I played safe. Went Jeffrey Schnapp, who's been mentioned 17 times now. But I know I'm going to have a Saturday morning. I'm going to go, oh, let's do it. You know what I mean? Where I'm going to go Aguero out or Sanchez out, and then I'm probably going to have the most miserable weekend ever because it's going to backfire.
Yeah, Alan Partridge moment and eat some Toblerone.
Exactly. I mean, or like I'll go out drinking on a Friday night somehow with a kid, one on the way. I don't know. I used to go out drinking on Friday. I'll do something silly where it's going to convince me that. But it's going to take that because at the moment I'm just too scared. Basically, which is my fault. That's why I'm not a top-ranked fantasy manager. I'm just a decent one.
I think there are stages of throwing caution to the wind. I think at your top level, you've got Aguero, Sanchez, you've got your heavy beasts of FPL and fantasy games, and I think you can still take risks with some of the other players. So a lot of us have Eriksen at the moment. Now I'm not sure Eriksen is worth keeping.
Definitely not. No, was it one goal in 7? I think.
Yeah, but others might think he's good. He's got a good fixture coming up next. Now, a Maverick would think, well, hang on a minute, I haven't got Mane, I haven't got maybe Sigurdsson. Maybe I'd get them in for Eriksen. Now, Eriksen's up against Leicester, so now that is a bold move. But I think it's a good move, and I think that's a much less risky move than, say, Aguero or Sanchez out.
Well, so you've got to look at the squad and go, where can I make the difference? And is that difference the fourth or the fifth midfielder? Because if you can kind of console yourself with that, then you can afford to keep Sanchez and Aguero and still feel like you're making a move which could bump you up the ranks. And I think Eriksen in that fourth midfielder is the option. Yeah.
I think potentially this week as well. Obviously, a lot of the top players are going to be. Most people, I'm assuming, are going to have Kane as captain. I mean, it's obviously a massive risk to go without, but clearly, if you want to take that risk, and you're in a position where, like you said, you're sort of floating and you're in that sort of ether at the moment, to go for a different player now is, and it works. You're going to climb massively this week, especially when Spurs just lost 3-0. I mean, the form says that Kane wasn't that great. I mean, it is worth a risk, I would suggest, if you're not there and thereabouts. I mean,
what, gambling with the captain, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you've still got Kane, I'm assuming, so you're going to get his points, obviously not doubled, but, I mean, this could be the week where you go Aguero, for example, home to West Brom, and he finally turns it on, gets his penalty, gets a couple of goals, and you'll massively climb up the league. Again, it depends whether you're willing to take that risk, but I think sort of my position, sort of around 7,000-10,000, it's something to do if you've got any sort of aspirations for getting near the top 1,000. It's one of those weeks where you're running out of weeks, you've got to take that sort of jump at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting because Granville didn't go Kane captain in the double game week, and in his arguments for not doing that were sound in a way in that he didn't. Kane was such the obvious captain that there was an obvious differential by looking elsewhere. But the trouble is he was relying on Kane having 2 bad games, not one. Whereas now you look at it and go, okay, well, if the majority are going to go Kane captain, he's only got to have 1 bad game, and if I get it right, I'm going to climb ranks by going with Aguero or even someone like Mane, like you were saying, or Eriksen perhaps even. I don't know. I mean, I'm not advising that, but it's a game week where you can look at it and go, well, I know the majority are going to go Kane, so he's only got to have that 1 bad game. Whereas Granville was banking on Kane having 2, and he obviously didn't because he tore QPR apart. So yeah, it's a decent. I mean, I would rather do that. I'd rather gamble with the captain than shed Aguero and shed Sanchez when they're playing West Brom and Newcastle, because I just think there is going to be better weeks to do it. Like Jonty said, it's probably nearer the double game week time.
Yeah, I think, and I think what Lou was saying about the captaincy, I think if you're going to be making moves, I mean, keep Aguero, keep Sanchez. Well, maybe not Sanchez, but definitely Aguero, because if he does get a hat trick against West Brom, which he's capable of, then you know you're going to be 17 points or so behind. But if you get rid of him and your captain falters, you're 34 points behind. Now that's this stage of the season a really big. that's a huge gap. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile to think about differential captains. I think Mane, you know, good ones as well. You know, Mane is a good one actually. I think if you were thinking Sacco, maybe some of these ones. I mean, I just wanted to mention, speaking of differentials, the punt master last week. His 3 punts for the week were Schnapp, Balassi, and Agbonlahor, which is his most successful week. All 3 not only did well, they really did well. Yeah. So people who read that article on Friday and thought, you know what, I'm just going to trust in the punt master here, and I'm just going to have Agbonlahor in and captain him. You know, that would be an absolutely crazy move. But you know, if someone did, you know, they'd be looking at a huge climb in the rankings this week.
Okay, not so sure. Okay, quickly then, transfers this week. You got one transfer coming or 2, Jonty?
Oh, it's a real. I'm going to have to take one. I've got this problem where I haven't got much room to manoeuvre. I can just about, if there's no price rises, get Norton in for Cameron. It's massively boring. It gives me Norton, who is a cheap defender I'd like for the rest of the season. It's a good thinking ahead move. I've got lots of other. I've got the Hazards, the Sanchez's, the Aguero's in place. On Friday, I might consider a hit to get Ivanovic in and move Eriksen out.
I mean, I was going to say, you were talking about doing maverick transfers, then you go, oh, I'm going to get Norton in. That's like the most. There you go. That's a true Dunhard speaking.
But that is it's just one of those moves. I actually think my team is pretty good for this week. You know, I think, you know, I'm willing to hold on Austin, for example, this week. I'm willing to hold on Sanchez. They've got good fixtures. I think it's the weekend after. My even dollar move is nothing. Save 2. But
and Luke, what you got up your sleeve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spice it up much. I think I'm going to save it as well, to be honest. I mean, my only real issues I've got is Punchin's injured, but I wasn't going to play him anyway. He was going to be on my bench. So I'll just wait that one out and just save it just in case. I've got Bella in, but I think he'll probably play.
Oh, yeah.
Eriksen at home to Leicester. I could do something there, but the fixture's too good for me. I'm just going to leave that. Save 2. I think they're important coming up to this double and blank. So, yeah, I'll do that.
And guess what? I'm struggling because Downing is my sub, so I don't know whether I'm going to play him or Austin. So I'm going to do a Simon March, and I'm not going to do anything at all. Okay. So there you go. 3 Dullards have spoken. There you go. Brilliant.
I just wanted to add one thing while we've been on air. The averages, the expected averages have come in for this week.
Oh yeah, has it shot up?
Yeah, so we were on. For those of us lucky enough to be in the top 10,000, we were looking at about 29 as the average score. It shot up to 32, so that's good news for us lot. We're not going to dip too much tonight. The average score 38 overall. So
what's the average?
The average is 38, so that shows just how.
I got 36, so I was below average. My God.
Below average, but I mean that just shows the difference. But you're above the top 10,000 average, and that's the key thing. So for you,
I've just also noticed, by the way, on the homepage that they have credited Sturridge with that assist.
Really?
Yeah, so he's going to get it. So I am actually through in the cup. Yeah.
He's going to get. I'm just going to email ISN now to get that one out for you, Luke. But yeah.
Oh, yes, we didn't mention that. Yeah, we didn't mention the cup as well.
Oh yes, how did you get on? Are you safely through?
I'm safely through. Big Doles got 22, and I got 31. So
and Luke,
I'm through.
Yeah, I'm through by the skin of my teeth. I think it's 1 or 2 points. So yeah, that'll be the first time ever. I think I've been knocked out in the cup first round every time on Fantasy Football Scout. So uncharted territory for me. Yeah,
I'm through as well. I beat Chris. What was it? Chris 8210, I think it is. Yeah, 8910. Sorry, Chris. Yeah, sorry. He only got 19 points, and I got the 37. So I'm safely through as well. But don't worry, folks. I never do well in these. So although Jonty, former winner, You know, you getting your suit ready for the final already?
I am, yeah, getting my hat ready and everything.
You might get one of those white Liverpool suits, you know, from the 80s.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Stride onto Wembley.
With the Granville beard. Excellent stuff. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Luke. Thanks for filling in and bringing with you your Sky season and your FPL season. Good luck for the rest of the season. We'll see if we get you in before the end.
Yeah.
See where you finish up. And I don't think you're going to be in the money this year, though. Sorry to break it to you, Luke. But
I know. Well, anyway.
Yeah. But good luck with that anyway, and we'll catch you at the end of the season. Thanks for popping in. And John T, it's been a pleasure as always. Hopefully Granville back in a couple of weeks. But until then, keep with that beard. It suits you. Yes. It's a good night for me.
Good night for me.
And good night for me. Bye-bye.